I'll start off with a brief introduction. I grew up in the field of consultancy and identity and access management. And from that, I spent 5 years at a bank in the Netherlands, Rabobank, where I did this theme. I was the global service owner there. And now I'm back in consulting again, but specifically on the digital wallets and EIDAS and the EU regulation on this topic. And I also started some research together with Delft University on this topic. And that will be part of the core of this presentation. A little bit on the company I work for. It's a small boutique shop on all of these fancy stuff. You can read it later on the slides and give me a call or grab me if you want to make use of one of these services. Interesting to see is that we deliver identity and access, but also digital identity services across the board. So we have manufacturing companies, transport, banking, but also government. So this is really a theme that goes across industries. And what also goes across industries is the human element. I really liked the way that this fintech event, which I have grown to understand that is the fintech event of Eastern Europe, really addresses the human element. Because in the end, there are not only bots, but there's also a human at the end of the line who wants to make use of a service or improve his life. And in the digital world, that is done through a lot of data sharing. And the question is how that can be done responsibly. And data sharing, I don't have to tell you, I assume most of you know how wallets work. Sometimes I'm in an audience where that's not the case. But it's the app on your phone that you use to check in. For example, at the Dutch Railway services, you can use the app to check in. Of course, you have your banking apps, and you use them for payments. And you can also use the app for sharing data. So you go to a concert, you buy the ticket, you download it in your Apple wallet, then it's in your wallet, and at the concert you show it out of your wallet. That's the concept. And that concept is being picked up on a European level as well. So we have the EIDAS regulation, and I'm assuming nobody has a clue what it is about, but it is about the trust services across Europe. And it gives the legal framework that if I have an EID in the Netherlands, that if I go through some hoops, I can use that in Germany. Unfortunately, this first version was not picked up really well. So on a European level, people started thinking on how can we improve this, because what we want is that citizens across European member states can travel easily, share data easily. If I speed in Germany and I'm back in the Netherlands, I should be able to very easily pay my speeding ticket at the German Ministry of Justice. Right now, that can be very cumbersome. So we want to make this digital society easier so people can get along with it, and that touches on the theme of inclusion. So the second version of this regulation has been signed off last April, and a key element in that legislation is a wallet. So we're now moving from national digital identity solutions to a European framework that says every nation should come up with a wallet that every citizen in that nation can use for their digital identification. Not just for government services, but for anything. And basically also every type of data you can get in that wallet. So Ursula von der Leyen positioned this as saying, every time I go online, I share data, I have no clue what happens with it. We want to give users, citizens in Europe, back control over where they share your data. And Commissioner Verstager made that even more concrete, and he said it should be used for public as well as private, mandatory, but she positioned it also as a right for every citizen. So it's a legal right for me to identify myself. And that really touches upon basic things like human rights and a legal identity and being recognized in front of the law. So from this perspective, human rights perspective almost, you could say, this wallet is positioned in a legal framework to make sure that people can control what data about themselves is being shared where. And I'm briefly going to skip this one because the key elements of this wallet, and I can talk for a full day about it, we created a masterclass on this topic even, but the key element on this wallet that is going to be developed in every member state is on the one hand that it's issued by the government or certified by the government, then given to the citizen, and the citizen can store all kinds of data in it. So it's not just like my digital passport. or my driver's license, but I could get a loyalty card, even get the concert ticket in this wallet. It's a wallet with generic functionality, but approved by your government, also for national legal purposes. And then with that wallet, obviously, you go online, you authenticate. So wouldn't it be nice if I could use it to authenticate to Google Mail, often used applications, but also when doing my tax report, which I don't do that often, and I really want to make sure that I submit my tax report and that not that my neighbor is submitting my tax report. And the sharing of data. So if I'm a senior citizen and I want to get a discount on public transport, then this is a new way to show from this wallet that my birth date is before a certain year, and I'm entitled to a senior citizenship discount. We did a study. We do a study in this topic every year, and one of the questions that we did in this study was, okay, this wallet is coming. Where do you think it will be used most often? And we did it with a panel of experts in a yearly conference in Amsterdam. And two things really jumped out. One is for payments. So for the financial industry, I see a purpose for this wallet. And the other is anything with high value or personal data being shared. And if you scan the QR code, you can find the report there. But you can also use the slides later on. So this kind of sets the scene for what this wallet is intending to do. It's going to give me and you full control over my data. It has a lot of benefits there. So where normally I log in and a third party gets my data from somewhere else and I have not a lot of visibility where this data is flowing, I can now have full control because the organization that handed me my data, for example, the government or the Department of Motor and Vehicles for my driver's license, does not know where I use it. So it's really mimicking almost like a physical passport. I get it from the government, they have no clue where I use it. But I can use it all over the place and everybody can recognize it that it's a legally vetted document. Then why is manipulation a topic of interest here? Well, first of all, because I found it an interesting topic and it's part of my research, but it's actually in the legal text. So in recital 4, so not in the articles, but in the recitals, it said, why do we come up with this revised regulation and why do we put this wallet in here? It is also to protect our citizens against cybercrime, identity theft, and manipulation. And you can imagine that if I have a wallet with a lot of valuable data, there are also a lot of parties interested in that data. And they will try to get that data from me. So I'm taking you along on a small journey with a lot of pictures and less text to kind of give my story on what could happen here and what you as fintech and banking industry should take along in the back of your head when thinking of services, on digitization, on AI. By the way, I loved the speech by Dave Birch this morning. So I will never forget that my wife actually wanted a virtual boyfriend and not me, but she married me. So that's where we are right now. This is actually where we are in Europe right now, and actually also the world is really looking at what is happening with this regulation. Will the European Union pull it off to kind of go up against the Google and the Apple wallets and come up with a EU digital identity wallet? So everybody is in suspense, and everybody is waiting for this wallet, because data is the new gold. And this wallet will hold all my data. So, especially when you talk to the tech people, they're really shouting and cheering, this will be great. And the general audience, once they get an understanding of, oh, this is like my Apple wallet, but even with better data, they're also quite excited. And we see a lot of opportunities. Of course, paying my speeding ticket in Germany is not the most fun, but then let's make it as easy as possible. We're getting all kinds of discounts. Having an AI agent on my wallet telling me what shop to go first because it matches my profile can really make life easier. Unfortunately, the online world is not a friendly world. There are a lot of threats. There are a lot of bad actors trying to make money in ways that we do not really deem legal. And sometimes even hold you at gunpoint saying, give me your data or else. You've all received phishing emails, you've all received anonymous threats, and all you needed to do is click this link, send some Bitcoin, give your credentials, log in, etc. But there's also a slightly less clear and in-your-face version of this trying to get your data. And that is the online, it's not really deception, but you're being seduced into sharing your data. You're being presented with offers you can't refuse. And that is where manipulation steps in. Because human beings are not really smart. We are very prone to all kinds of heuristics and biases. Buy now, only 4 left. That's the scarcity bias. And that works because all my signals go to my head, to my brain, but they first pass through the amygdala, which is the auto-response. That saves me in a lot of situations because it gives me the reflex. And only then it gets to my real brain where the thinking happens. And it's general knowledge that Facebook recruited a couple of hundred psychologists to make sure that their algorithms are optimized to give you the right like at the right time, to keep your dopamine level at exactly this level so that you continue in the app, eyes on screen, maximize it. So there are threats out there. Also, when we have this wallet, that means that if we go shopping, we need protection. And the question, of course, is, what kind of protection do we need? Because I don't have any protection at the moment when I have my passport and I show it at the pharmacy or at the grocery. That's because I'm kind of aware and I'm kind of accustomed to what is happening. So what exactly is this risk? Because in order to protect us against it, we need to have more understanding of this risk. And this is where my academic aspects come in. This is where we've done some research by interviewing a couple of experts in the Netherlands from parties that issue data and use data and parties that build these wallets to ask them, what is this risk real? Can it happen? How does it happen? And what occurs that makes people to share it really easy? So I have 2 slides on these findings. One is the risk is there. Yes, it is a real risk. It even happens now, fill in this form. The only challenge with the wallet will be that you might not be able to lie about the data, your date of birth or your email. And it's also defined as sharing more data than needed. There's a whole discussion underneath that who determines what is needed and what is the minimum I need for this. What I found interesting is that a couple of factors came up, and I'm not going to go through all of them, but when asked the question, what triggers this risk of oversharing of data? For example, the first one is goal orientation. That means I'm not online to share data, I'm online to buy a car, to get a subscription. So I'm oriented towards that goal. That means that if a relying party is able to introduce haste, so a little bit of pressure, like a discount if you do it within 10 minutes, I kind of ignore the other stuff that is happening. And that could be the pop-up request saying, please share me your household income, please share me the assurances that you have, which will be really easy when you have this wallet. So that's the ease of sharing. The other one that has received a lot of attention is the qualified data. So now I have, I don't know, how many Gmail accounts and email accounts do you have? I think I have around 10 aliases because I use them for spam and for subscriptions. And then I have 2 or 3 email accounts that I'm really careful with because that's where I do my official communication with. Now, if I have this wallet with my legal identity in it, a big tech organization could say, okay, I'll create an account, but I want that legal identity, otherwise there's no account. That means that there's a loss of anonymity on the web. Now, when you talk about cyberbullying, anonymity is really annoying because we can't find the bad guys, but in this case, when you talk about human rights, anonymity is almost like a key thing. And there are some other requests. So if you want to read this, and you like reading dull academic articles, then this is the QR code. But it comes back to this question of what type of protection do we need? And I think The development is ongoing. This has started on a European level, and every EU member state, including the Netherlands, including Romania, is now figuring out, how am I going to do this wallet? What is needed? How am I going to make sure that it goes well? But I think in order to make sure that we end up in a better place, we need to have the proper protection. So we're not going to go out shopping with bodyguards. But in most cases, if you go biking, you put on a helmet. You don't put on a bulletproof vest. So we need to figure out what the proportionality of protection here is. And this is my expertise, of course. I worked at a bank, but I've never been in banking, let alone fintech. So my challenge to you is, if you see this happening, you may have all kinds of questions. Please talk to me later. But also give some thought to, if I engage with customers and they will have this wallet, what opportunities do I have to make the service better? But also, how do I protect their rights so that they do not overshare and do not give too much information to me? On the one hand, it's nice to have a lot of information on your customer, but you also need to protect it. So with that, I want to close. And thank you for your attention. I think I've done it in under 20 minutes. So you can have some coffee.
Yes, it deserves some applause. Thank you so much. Thank you, Henk.